Hare Krishna, welcome all of you for today's Srimad Bhagavatam session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 5, Instructions of Sri Narad Muni on the subject of Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyasadeva, text 20. Idam hi vishvam bhagavanivetaro yajjagatsthana nirodha sambhavaah tadhi swayam veda bhavanstathapite pradesha matram bhavatah pradarshitam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Sri Narad Muni continued, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is Himself this cosmos, and still He is aloof from it. From Him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In Him it rests, and unto Him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. For a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version that the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahman means that since everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahman, nothing is apart from him. Similarly, the part and parcel hands and legs are called the body, but the body as the whole unit is neither the hands nor the legs. The Lord is the transcendental form of eternity, cognition, and beauty, and thus the creation of the energy of the Lord appears to be partially eternal, full of knowledge, and beautiful also. The captivated conditioned souls under the influence of the external energy Maya are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this as all in all, for they have no information of the Lord who is the primeval cause. Nor have they information that the parts and parcels of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or leg as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. The devotee of the Lord, Srila Vyasadeva, knows this very well. He is further advised by Srila Narada to expand the idea so that the entrapped conditioned souls may take lessons from him to understand the Supreme Lord as the primeval cause. According to the Vedic version, the Lord is naturally fully powerful and thus His supreme energies are always perfect and identical with him. Both the spiritual and material skies and their paraphernalia are emanations of the internal and external energies of the Lord. External energy is comparatively inferior, whereas the internal potency is superior. The superior energy is living force, and therefore she is completely identical, but the external energy, being inert, is partially identical. But both the energies are neither equal to nor greater than the Lord, who is the generator of all energies. Such energies are always under his control, exactly as electrical energy, however powerful it may be, is always under the control of the engineer. The human being and all other living beings are products of his internal energies. Thus, the living being is also identical with the Lord, but he is never equal or superior to the personality of Godhead. The Lord and living beings are all individual persons. With the help of the material energies, the living beings are also creating something, but none of their creations are equal or superior to the creations of the Lord. The human being may create a small playful Sputnik and may throw it into outer space, but that does not mean that he can create a planet like the Earth or Moon and float it in the air as the Lord does. Men with a poor fund of knowledge claim to be equal to the Lord. They are never equal to the Lord. This is never to be. The human being, after attaining complete perfection, may achieve a large percentage of the qualities of the Lord, say up to 87%. But it is never possible to surpass the Lord or to become equal with him. In a diseased condition only, the foolish being claims to be one with the Lord and thus becomes misled by the illusory energy. The misguided living beings, therefore, must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to Him. For this they have been created. Without this, there cannot be any peace or tranquility in the world. Srila Vyasadeva is advised by Srila Narada to expand this idea in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita also the same idea is explained. Surrender fully unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the only business of the perfect human being. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So Narad Muni is continuing to instruct Srila Vyasadeva. He is giving the synopsis of Srimad Bhagavatam so that later on the great sage Vyasadeva can expand based on the synopsis given by Srila Narad Muni. So this chapter and the next chapter is all about the synopsis of Srimad Bhagavatam given by Sri Narad Muni to Vyasadeva. Actually, Krishna conscious knowledge, transcendental knowledge, can be spoken in just one line. At the same time, it can be spoken in volumes of literatures. It can be concisely spoken. It can also be elaborated upon. Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Just like the Lord can become smaller than the smallest and he can become greater than the greatest, in the same way, the transcendental knowledge, Srimad Bhagavatam, pertaining to the Supreme Lord, can be concisely explained in just one or two verses or one or two lines. And the same knowledge can also be expanded by the intelligent devotees of the Lord who can write volumes of literatures glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, what we are seeing in this chapter is a synopsis of the Srimad Bhagavatam given by Narad Muni to Srila Vyasadeva. And this synopsis that Narad Muni is giving to Vyasadeva is based on the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the 4 verses spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself to Lord Brahma in the beginning of the creation. That means the Lord spoke to Lord Brahma, the Supreme Lord spoke to Lord Brahma in 4 verses That is the original Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the core verses of the Bhagavatam that we shall see in the second canto of Bhagavatam in the ninth chapter. And here, whatever knowledge Lord Brahma received from the Supreme Lord, that was expanded further by Brahmaji and given to Narad Muni. And Narad Muni further elaborated it to Vyasadeva, as we are seeing in this chapter. And after hearing this synopsis from Narad Muni, Vyasadeva further elaborated into Srimad Bhagavatam and spoke to his great son, Srila Shukadev Goswami. And further, Srila Shukadev Goswami expanded it based on his transcendental realization and spoke to Maharaj Parikshit on the banks of river Ganga. And in this way, Bhagavatam has been coming down in the Parampara system. So here, let us understand this verse, a very important verse, verse number 20 of this chapter we have just now read. This verse is also one of the fundamental, talks about one of the fundamental concepts in spiritual understanding. Narad Muni is saying, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetaraha. Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan. Indeed, this cosmos is the Supreme Lord Bhagavan himself. This material world that we are seeing, this cosmos that we are seeing, Vishwam, it is the Supreme Lord himself. But then, Iva Itaraha. Iva, almost the same, Itaraha, different from. Simultaneously, the Lord is different from this cosmos. The Lord is same as this material world, but at the same time, he is aloof from this material world. He is an individual personality. So when we say that this material world is the Lord himself, what does it mean? It means that this material world is an emanation of the Lord's energy. This material world is a transformation of the Lord's energy. And in one sense, the energy and the energetic are not different. Therefore, in that sense, this material world is the Lord himself, because it is nothing but his energies. So ultimately, everything that exists in this material and spiritual worlds is nothing but the Lord and his energies. There is nothing apart from this. There is only the Lord and his energies. That is the final understanding that we get after studying the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetaraha. Indeed, this material world is the cosmos, is the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead himself, Ivetaraha, and still he is aloof from it. So this is the basis for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, the simultaneous oneness and difference. This is the highest philosophy spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said, the Lord is simultaneously one with his creation, and he is also different from his creation. In fact, in the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, also Lord Krishna says this: Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murthina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avasthitaha. The Lord says, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe, this material world is pervaded. Everything exists in me, but I am not in them. So the meaning is, this material world is nothing but Lord's energies, the interaction and transformation of different energies of the Lord. But at the same time, the Lord is aloof from this material world. The Mayavadis, the impersonalists, think that they talk about the Parinamavada theory. Parinamavada theory means, since this material world, since Brahman himself has become this material world, therefore Brahman does not exist aloof from this material world. Srila Prabhupada gives an example for this. Suppose you have a big cake, a birthday cake, and you cut the cake into 20 parts and distribute the 20 parts to 20 individual persons. Where is the original cake now? The original cake is no more existing. It is no more existing because it has been divided into 20 parts and it has been consumed by 20 individuals. So it has the original cake is no more existing as its original in its original condition anymore. So this is the Mayavadi theory. Since that Brahman himself has become this universe, this material world, there is no separate existence of Brahman. This is their interpretation of this verse, the Upanishad Vakya. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. They say everything is Brahman. Everything that is existing is Brahman. That Brahman has become all this existence. But the Bhagavatam is saying, yes, the energies of the Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, have become the transformation of the energies of Supreme Brahman has become this material existence, but he himself, who is the fountainhead of all energies, as a Supreme Lord, as the Supreme Individual Personality, he exists always. Now, in fact, this is the first shloka. We see that in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam. Ahameva asameva gre, Krishna says that in the beginning I existed. And now, when this entire material world is being created, it is existing, I am existing as an individual personality. And in the future, when this material cosmos will undergo dissolution, annihilation, I will continue to exist as the individual personality of Godhead. So, the personality of Godhead is the absolute truth. He is the fountainhead of all energies. So, this is the understanding that we get from this verse. He is aloof from this material existence as an individual eternal personality. This we have to understand very carefully. That is why Narad Muni is saying, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetaraha. Indeed, this material world is Bhagavan himself because it is a transformation of Bhagavan's energies. But at the same time, Bhagavan as an individual, as the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, he is existing aloof from this material world in the spiritual world, right? And then he's saying, the second line, Yato jagat sthana nirodha sambhavaha. Yataha. Yataha means from whom. Jagat sthana. Jagat, the words, the material, both the material and the spiritual world. Sthana nirodha sambhavaha. Sthana means existence, maintenance. Nirodha means annihilation, destruction. Sambhavaha means creation. So it is from him, that personality of Godhead, who is aloof from this material existence, it is from him that this entire existence has come about, and it is he who is bringing about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this entire cosmos. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it is rest, it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord's process of creation, maintenance, and sustenance and destruction is compared to Urnanabhi. Urnanabhi in Sanskrit means spider. A spider with its bodily secretion, it spins a web. So that means the web in which it is going to stay is an emanation from the spider itself. It is coming out of the spider's body, that silk that is coming out from its body. Then it makes the entire spider web, the cobweb, and then it stays there. It maintains that web, and then after some time it winds up. It takes the entire web into itself. So the Bhagavatam gives this example. In the same way, just like a Urnanabhi, just like a spider, by its own, from itself the web is coming, and into itself the web finally merges. In the same way, this entire material existence is coming from the Supreme Lord. It is maintained, it is resting in him, and in him means in his energies, in his agents. The Devatas are all agents of the Lord who are maintaining this material world as a seva on behalf of the Supreme Lord. And then finally, when the material world is annihilated, it is destroyed or dissolved, the entire existence in its original state as pradhana or mahatattva enters back into the Lord's uh, existence, Lord's transcendental body. So that is the understanding. So yato jagat sthana nirodha sambhavaha tadhi swayam veda bhavams tathate tathapite. So Narad Muni is saying bhavam, yourself, your good self, Veda Bhavan, you know all these things, O Vyasadeva. Tadhi, all about Swayam, personally, you know about this, your good self knows about this. Tathapi, still, te, unto you, Pradesha Matram, a synopsis only, Bhavataha Pradarshitam, I am explaining unto you. O learned sage Vyasadeva, you know all this truth about the Supreme Lord, and I'm only giving you a synopsis so that you can further elaborate and expand on these ideas. That is what Narad Muni is saying. So, Prabhupada begins the purport by this statement: for a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. So, for the Mayavadis or the Nirvisheshavadis, the impersonalists, the absolute truth is impersonal, but for the pure devotees, the absolute truth is both personal and impersonal. The ultimate realization of the absolute truth is no doubt the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, but the impersonal aspect is also one of the features of the absolute truth. The pure devotees do not deny this. The pure devotees do not say that the impersonal feature is wrong. The pure devotees say impersonal feature is also one of the aspects of the absolute truth. That is what Bhagavatam says. But that realization of the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is a partial understanding of the absolute truth. It's a partial understanding. The complete understanding is the Lord is simultaneously both personal and impersonal. When you say impersonal, it is the energies of the Lord. When you say personal, the origin, the original personality of Godhead from whom all energies are coming out. That is the understanding that we must have about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada is giving an example here. Prabhupada says, the impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. So same example we can also say for our own body. We can say that this hand is body, but the entire body is not the hand. Hand is definitely part of the body, but you cannot simply say this is alone the body. The hand itself is the body. We cannot say that, right? The leaves and branches of the tree are also tree because they are parts of the tree. But at the same time, the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branch. The tree is the complete whole, including all the branches, all the leaves, everything together is called the tree, right? In the same way, the Supreme Brahman, along with all his multifarious energies, that is the Supreme Absolute Truth. So, that is the Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has got various kinds of energies. And all those energies together, along with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is known as the Absolute Truth. That means we, the living entities, Jivas, we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. So we are also part of that Absolute Truth. This is our actual identity. We are not aloof from the Lord. Neither is this material world aloof from the Lord. You see, the impersonalists, the Mayavadis, they reject everything in this material world and they say this is all Maya, this is all false, mithya, they say. They say Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Mithya means something which is false, something which has no real existence. But the Bhagavatam and the Vaishnava devotees, Acharyas, they say no, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna. He is the Absolute Truth. And from him, how can something false come out? This material world is also real. It is not false, but it is a temporary reality. It is temporary reality. It is not false. So this is the difference between the approach of Mayavadis and the Vaishnava Acharyas, the Vaishnava philosophy. So Prabhupada, so there was one great Mayavadi scholar in Bengal, and he was sitting underneath a tree and he was discoursing, he was giving his sermon lecture. And one of the after some time, one of the persons in the lecture, who was attending the lecture, he said, there is some money underneath your seat. I had kept some money underneath your seat. So immediately that Mayavadi scholar, so-called incarnation of God, so he jumped out of that place and he said, where is this? Take out this Maya. This is money is Maya. It is take out from this place. Like that, he's created a big thing about it. And everybody was, thinking, see, such a great detached person he is. So he's treating money like garbage. He doesn't want to even touch the money. The moment he got to know that money is under his seat, he jumped out of it. So much renounced he is. This is the understanding that everybody got. Now, after a few years, in the same place, Srila Prabhupada was sitting and he was giving the talk on Krishna consciousness. He was giving his divine association to the devotees. And, when somebody said there is some money there, so Prabhupada asked, Kotha ache, how much it is there? How much money is there? Take out, please give. How much ever you can give, you can take it and we can engage in Krishna's service. See, it's a direct implication. This whatever I discuss now, this difference between the Mayavadi sannyasis approach towards money and a Vaishnava Acharya's approach towards money, it is based on this concept that we discussed before that. The Mayavadis think that this material world and all the energies are illusory, they are false. Whereas a Vaishnava Acharya says that everything has got a reality, real existence, and everything has got a connection with Krishna. Therefore, it can be utilized in Krishna's service. So in the Vaishnava philosophy, we don't reject anything. We don't reject wealth, money, and all of those things. We don't reject. We think of how to engage all of those, because all of these are energies of Krishna. They belong to Krishna. Therefore, they should be utilized in Krishna's service. This is the right understanding. And in fact, we spirit souls, we belong to Krishna. Therefore, we are meant to give service to Krishna. This is a fundamental understanding that we should all have. We are never aloof from Krishna. We are not separated from Krishna. Right now, we have forgotten our relationship with Krishna and we are trying to enjoy independent of Krishna, but that is a diseased condition. That's not our natural condition. That's why we are not happy. How much ever we try to enjoy independent of Krishna in this material world, we will not be happy because that's not our original constitutional position. So to realize that I actually belong to Krishna, I am meant for giving pleasure to Krishna. Krishna is my supreme master. He is my proprietor. I belong to Krishna. This is a very, very important realization. This is a very grand idea that Krishna himself presents in the Bhagavad Gita and it is elaborated in the Bhagavatam. Mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. Sanatanaha. Eternally we are amshas of Krishna. Now we have rebelled against Krishna and we are suffering for that in this material world. Now Krishna consciousness is all about reviving our original relationship with Krishna and going back to Krishna and leading an eternal life full of knowledge and bliss in his association. So this is the whole process of Bhakti Yoga, right? So uh, we are entrapped in the net. Prabhupada says the captivated conditioned souls under the influence of the external energy Maya are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this as all in all, for they have no information of the Lord, who is the primeval cause. Nor they have information that the parts and parcels of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or leg as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like a detached hand or leg. Such parts and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. You see, the hand, as long as it is connected with the body, blood flows through the blood vessels, the hand is nourished, it is in a healthy condition. But the moment you cut off the hand, it has got disconnected from the rest of the body. Blood cannot flow to that part of the body. What happens? It starts rotting. It becomes dysfunctional and it starts rotting. It's of no use. Now, the current civilization is becoming godless. They want to detach themselves from God. And the result that we are seeing is people are unhappy in spite of advancement in science and technology. People's criminal propensities are increasing because they're becoming more and more godless. You see? So, all of these things are explained uh, by Narad Muni in this shloka. Idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivetaraha. This one line has got so much deep understanding that Prabhupada is elaborating here. Everything has got a connection with Krishna. So our vision becomes perfect when we see everyone, everything in connection with Krishna. That is called a wholesome vision, holistic vision. You know, this vision has to be extended in every aspect of our life. In every aspect of our life, we should see how to see this in connection with Krishna. What is the connection with Krishna? Constantly, we must think about it. The moment we see something disconnected from Krishna, that is called Maya. That is when we are under illusion. But when we see everything in connection with Krishna, that is Krishna consciousness. It is mentioned in the Bhagavatam when the residents of Dwaraka city, when they came across, when they understood that in the Swargaloka, in the Indraloka, there is a special assembly hall called Sudharma Rajya Sabha. And the speciality of that Sudharma Rajya Sabha is that as long as anybody is sitting in that Rajya Sabha, Sudharma Sabha, one will not be affected by thirst, hunger, lamentation, old age, and disease and death. No lamentation. All of these things. One will not experience any of these things. So as soon as they saw this, the residents of Dwaraka got to know about the Sudharma Rajya Sabha. Immediately they thought, oh, what is it doing in the heavenly kingdom of Indra? It should be in the service, at the service of Lord Krishna in Dwaraka. And they got that Sudharma Rajya Sabha. The Yadavas got that for the pleasure of Krishna. They established that in Dwaraka city. See, that means this is the understanding. So anything you see wonderful, you should know, oh, it belongs to Krishna. You should be engaged in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada in the West, in the morning walk conversations, many times he would go with his disciples chanting his rounds and discussing philosophy. And then there would be big buildings. And those buildings, Prabhupada would ask, what is this building? And they would say, Prabhupada, it is an abandoned church. It used to be a church once upon a time. People used to come and worship God there. And nowadays nobody is coming there. Therefore it is shut down. Like this. And immediately Prabhupada would say, I want that for Krishna. He would point out his cane and say, get this for Krishna. And his disciples would go, talk to the concerned owners and strike a fair deal, good deal, and get that building for Krishna. And the whole building would get converted into a temple. You see, this is the consciousness of a pure devotee. Such big place, such mega structure, which was once upon a time a place of worship. Now it is abandoned. Nobody is coming. Why don't we use it for Krishna's service? How can we use it for Krishna's service? This is called uh, Nirbandhe Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. So it should be utilized for Krishna's service, for the service of Krishna and his pure devotee. So this should be the mood. This is the implication of the sentence Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetaraha. Everything is Krishna's property. This is very, very important. Another point that Prabhupada mentions in the purport is that the Lord has got several energies. Now, broadly speaking, two types of energies, external energy and internal potency. The external energy is inferior, whereas the internal energy is called superior. Why the external energy is inferior? Because it is not conscious, it is inert. This entire material existence, the Panchabhutas that we are seeing around us, with which our body is formed, and with which every object in this around us is made of, that is all external energy of Krishna, and that has no consciousness. In fact, mind, intelligence, and false ego, these are also material elements. They don't have consciousness. They're all working because the soul is present within the body. So we are the soul, and we have got a body made up of external energy, which is inferior because it has no consciousness, but we are conscious living entities, isn't it? So we also belong to the superior category of energy. So in one place, Prabhupada says, there is an incompatibility right now because we are superior energy, the soul, but we are present in a material body which is lacking consciousness, which is inferior energy. So there is an incompatibility. And the world in which we are living is also inert, made up of inert matter. Therefore, there is an incompatibility. Our original home is the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everything is conscious entity. The trees, the plants, the birds, the animals, everybody is conscious. The jewels that the Lord wears on his body, they're all conscious living entities. They're all rendering service to the Lord. So, we are supposed to live in that spiritual environment, which is our original home. And because we have misused our free will and rebelled against the Lord, so we have come to this material world. And therefore, there is an incompatibility here. Whatever you try to do, manipulate matter and try to squeeze out pleasure out of material things, you won't get any pleasure. So, therefore, you are frustrated. So, to end all this frustration, we have to realize our relationship with Krishna, and that is the message of Bhagavatam. Another important point that Prabhupada is mentioning, that all living entities, we are also individual living entities, living beings, individual persons like the Supreme Lord. And just like the Supreme Lord has the he has the ability to create. Since we are his parts and parcels, we also have the ability, inclination to create. You can see even a small child has a ability, inclination to create, isn't it? In the childhood, we might have played with clay and we would have made so many dolls and so many things out of clay. That is a inclination for creativity that we have got. And how did we get this creativity? Because Krishna has got this creativity. He is the supreme creator, and because we are his amshas, we also have a little ability to create. But our ability to create is very insignificant compared to the Lord's ability to create. And Prabhupada is giving an example here. A human being may create a small, playful Sputnik, a satellite, and may throw it into outer space. But that does not mean that he can create a planet like Earth or Moon and float it in the air as the Lord does. We are so, recently, some few years, 1 year back, I think, Chandrayaan, there was a big news about it. It did not succeed, and people had high expectations, and the scientists involved was in tears. The prime minister went and consoled him and all of that. It became a big news about that. Millions of billions of dollars were spent for that project. But then it did not work out. Because human beings are not as capable as the Lord in terms of creativity. We have some ability to create, but we cannot create like the Lord. The Lord's creativity, you see, He can make a huge planet and make it float in the sky, in the space. Can we do that? We cannot do, isn't it? Many people consider their lives to be successful if they're able to buy a 30-40 site in Bangalore city and build a house. That is their creativity. But the Lord's creativity is wonderful. No one can actually even compare. That's why it is said, Harer Adbhuta Karmanaha. The Lord's activities, His creation is Adbhuta. It is wonderful. No one can imitate. So these are some of the points that Prabhupada is mentioning. Let us go to the next shloka, text 21. Tvamatmatmanam avehi amoghadrak. Tvamatmatmananam avehi amoghadrak. Parasya pumsa paramatmana kalam. Ajam prajatam jagata shivayatan. Mahanubhavabhyudayot adhiganyatam. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Srila Narad Muni continued, Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul, personality of Godhead, because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vyasadeva is the empowered plenary portion incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He descended by his causeless mercy to deliver the fallen souls in the material world. The fallen and forgotten souls are detached from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, and they are eternally servitors of the Lord. All the Vedic literatures, therefore, are put into systematic order for the benefit of the fallen souls, and it is the duty of the fallen souls to take advantage of such literatures and be freed from the bondage of material existence. Although formally Srila Narada Rishi is his spiritual master, Srila Vyasadeva is not at all dependent on a spiritual master because in essence he is the spiritual master of everyone else. But because he is doing the work of an acharya, he has taught us by his own conduct that one must have a spiritual master even though he is God himself. Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Rama, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all incarnations of Godhead, accepted formal spiritual masters, although by their transcendental nature they were cognizant of all knowledge. In order to direct people in general to the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, he himself, in the incarnation of Vyasadeva, is delineating the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Tvam Atmanam, Tvam Atmana Atmanam. Tvam yourself, Atmana by your own self. Here it is referring to Vyasadeva. Atmanam, the super soul. Avehi, search out. Amogadruk, one who has perfect vision. This word Amogadruk, in the beginning of this chapter also we had seen Narad Muni glorifying Vyasadeva, his disciple, as having the infallible vision. Amogadruk. So here also Amogadruk, he has got perfect vision. Because why? Because he is himself the super soul personality of Godhead, because he is the empowered incarnation of the Supreme Lord. He is the empowered plenary portion incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This we have discussed already. So Narad Muni is saying, you yourself have perfect vision because you are the empowered incarnation of the Lord. Therefore, avehi, you have to search out. What do you have to search out? Parasya pumsa paramatmana kalam. Okay. Parasya pumsaha paramatmana kalam. Kalam means the plenary part that we have already seen, Parasya Pumsaha, of the transcendental personality of Godhead, you are Kalam, you are the plenary part. Plenary means as good as the original. Plenary expansion means one who is as good as the original source, right? In all aspects. That is the meaning of plenary. So that is Kala. And then Ajam Prajatam Jagata Shivayatan. Ajam. Ajam means the birthless, the Lord who has got no birth. Hmm. Ajam Prajatam Jagataha. Even though he is unborn, he has taken birth in this world, Jagataha, Shivaya, for the well being of this world, Tat Mahanubhava, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Abhyudayaha, pastimes, Adiganyatam, describe most vividly. So, Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva that even though the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Ajam, he is unborn, but he takes birth in this material world. For what purpose? For the well being of this material world. He performs various pastimes. He is Maha Anubhava. Anubhava. Maha Anubhava means actually one who has direct realization, who has got great realizations, personal realizations. He is called Mahanubhava. Generally, the pure devotees of the Lord are addressed as Mahanubhava because they have direct perception of the reality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, the Supreme Lord Krishna himself is addressed as Mahanubhava because he is perfectly cognizant of everything that is happening in every nook and corner of both the material and spiritual worlds. Right? So he is Mahanubhava, Abhyudayaha, he performs his pastimes. So, what you should do, O Vyasadeva, you should vividly describe all these wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Lord Krishna, which he performed in this material world, appearing here on this planet, even though he is birthless, and he performed various leelas for the well being of everybody in this material world, the fallen, forgotten, conditioned souls. So, you please discuss all these pastimes more vividly. Vividly. What is the meaning of this word vivid? The dictionary meaning is producing powerful feelings or strong, clear images in the mind. We say the cricket commentary was a vivid description. We say vivid description. Means what? As though by hearing that commentary, even if you are not watching the screen, by hearing that commentary, you're able to visualize, it is able to create visual images in your mind of what is happening actually on the playground. That is called a vivid description. So, adhiganya means you describe most vividly all the pastimes of Krishna. So, this is the direction of Narad Muni to Srila Vyasadeva. What he should do? He should vividly describe the pastimes of Krishna for the welfare, for the benefit of all the fallen, forgotten souls in this material world. So, all of us in the material world, we have forgotten our relationship with Krishna, as we have discussed. And only by hearing again and again about Krishna's activities, especially from Bhagavatam, because it is a vivid description of the Supreme Lord. When you hear Bhagavatam, then you will be able to have a strong impression of Krishna, of Krishna's loving exchanges with his devotees. And when you have a strong impression of this in your mind, in your consciousness, we will be able to develop attraction, strong attraction towards Krishna. On the strength of that strong attraction towards Krishna, we will be able to give up the material attractions which are right now bothering us very much, illusory happiness, pleasure attractions of this world. And this is going to be the way to attain perfection, to go back to Godhead. That is why Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva, Vividly, you describe all the pastimes of Krishna. Let the people in this world read your vivid description. You're already a great poet. You already proved your poetical skills when you composed the Mahabharata. But there you did a mistake. You did not vividly describe the pastimes of Krishna. You gave more emphasis to the karma kanda rituals, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But that's not going to really help the people to come out of material entanglement. Now, what you should do, my dear disciple Vyasadeva, you are not an ordinary person. You have amogha druk. You have got perfect vision because you yourself are the plenary portion expansion of the Supreme Lord. You're not an ordinary person, you're empowered by the Lord. So now what you should do with your amogha druk, with your perfect vision, you have to search out, you have to describe the transcendental pastimes of the Lord vividly in all description. You should describe fully. And by when people read your Bhagavatam, they should get a very strong impression about Krishna in their hearts, isn't it? Huh? So this kind of a description you should give. Actually, this kind of experience we will have actually when you read Bhagavatam. Very nicely, Vyasadeva has described. And more, if you want to nicely appreciate Vyasadeva's description, you should read the translation and purport of Srila Prabhupada. Very nicely, Prabhupada has elaborated. Hmm? For example, if you read the Damodar Leela, Damodar Leela in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, so nicely Vyasadeva has described. Hmm? It is said, every detail is described. Hmm? Swamatu Svinna Gatraya Kabara Srajaha. This is one few lines in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, in the 10th chapter, which is describing about the Damodar Leela. Swamatu Svinna Gatraya. Now, when you read this one line itself, you will get a picture in front of your eyes. What is that? Swamatu, who? His own mother, Lord Krishna's mother, that is Mother Yashoda. Svinna Gatraya. Gatraya means her body. Svinna means it was full of perspiration drops. So just by this one line, you can imagine what was the hard labor that Yashoda Mai was going through when she was trying to bind baby Krishna with a rope to the wooden martyr. Swamatu Svinna Gatraya. Her whole body was perspiring. Her face was covered with drops of sweat, drops of perspiration. And then Kabara Srajaha. Srajaha means garland of flower that she had put on her hair. Kabaraha. It fell down because she was chasing after Krishna, and after all that labor, that hair in her head became loosened and it fell on the ground. You see, just by reading these two lines, you can appreciate the amount of physical labor, the amount of endeavor that Yashoda Mai went through in order to try to bind Krishna. And then the verse says, seeing that Mother Yashoda was so much toiling, finally Krishna agreed to be bound. Swabandhane. Swabandhane means he himself got bound. It is not that Mother Yashoda bound him. He agreed to be bound. He got bound by himself, by the love of Mother Yashoda. See, such vivid descriptions of the pastimes of Krishna you will see in Bhagavatam. And when you see this, when you read it deeply, it will appear as though this pastime is happening in front of your own eyes. And more, if you want to relish, you should read Krishna book, because Prabhupada elaborates on each of these Sanskrit words that Vyasadeva has written, and he presents more elaborate understanding along with the spiritual perspective, how to view this, how to see this pastime of the Lord. So this is all happening because of the instruction given by Narad Muni to Vyasadeva. He's saying, describe all the pastimes of Krishna vividly. And we are so fortunate that we are able to read all these pastimes of Krishna in the Bhagavatam by the mercy of our spiritual master. And we are able to appreciate a little bit about the Bhagavatam. We will read the next shloka. I will take another 10-15 minutes. Text 22. Idam hi pumsastapasashrutasya va svishtasya suktasya cha buddhi dattayoho avichyutorthakavibhirnirupito yaduttama shloka gunanuvardanam. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Another very, very important verse. Translation. Narad Muni continued. Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry. Purport. Human intellect is developed for advancement of learning in art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, economics, politics, etc. By culture of such knowledge, the human society can attain perfection of life. This perfection of life culminates in the realization of the Supreme Being, Vishnu. The Shruti therefore directs that those who are actually advanced in learning should aspire for the service of Lord Vishnu. Unfortunately, persons who are enamored by the external beauty of Vishnu Maya do not understand that culmination of perfection or self realization depends on Vishnu. Vishnu Maya means sense enjoyment, which is transient and miserable. Those who are entrapped by Vishnu Maya utilize advancement of knowledge for sense enjoyment. Sri Narada Muni has explained that all paraphernalia of the cosmic universe is but an emanation from the Lord out of his different energies, because the Lord has set in motion by his inconceivable energy the actions and reactions of the created manifestation. They have come to be out of his energy, they rest on his energy, and after annihilation they merge into him. Nothing is, therefore, different from him, but at the same time, the Lord is always different from them. When advancement of knowledge is applied in the service of the Lord, the whole process becomes absolute. The personality of Godhead and his transcendental name, fame, glory, etc., are all non different from him. Therefore, all the sages and devotees of the Lord have recommended that the subject matter of art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, and all other branches of knowledge should be wholly and solely applied in the service of the Lord. Art, literature, poetry, painting, etc., may be used in glorifying the Lord. The fiction writers, poets, and celebrated literates are generally engaged in writing of sensuous subjects. But if they turn towards the service of the Lord, they can describe the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Valmiki was a great poet, and similarly, Vyasadeva is a great writer, and both of them have absolutely engaged themselves in delineating the transcendental activities of the Lord, and by doing so have become immortal. Similarly, science and philosophy also should be applied in the service of the Lord. There is no use presenting dry speculative theories for sense gratification. Philosophy and science should be engaged to establish the glory of the Lord. Advanced people are eager to understand the absolute truth through the medium of science, and therefore a great scientist should endeavor to prove the existence of the Lord on a scientific basis. Similarly, philosophical speculations should be utilized to establish the supreme truth as sentient and all powerful. Similarly, all other branches of knowledge should always be engaged in the service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also the same is affirmed. All knowledge not engaged in the service of the Lord is but nescience. Real utilization of advanced knowledge is to establish the glories of the Lord, and that is the real import. scientific knowledge engaged in the service of the Lord, and all similar activities are all factually Hari Kirtana or glorification of the Lord. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So a very, very important verse. In fact, this verse is a application of the previous verse. Krishna, Narad Muni talked about in the verse number 20, when he said, Idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivetaraha, he said, this entire existence is nothing but the Lord. That means this entire existence is the property of the Lord. Now, as an application of that principle, Narad Muni is telling here in this shloka, Idam hi pumsas tapasas shrutasya va. Idam, this, he, certainly, pumsaha, of everyone, tapasaha, by dint of austerities, shrutasya, by dint of study of the Vedas, va, or swishtasya suktasya. Swishtasya means sacrifice, suktasya means spiritual education, buddhi means culture of knowledge, dattayoho means charity, avichyutaha, avichyutaha arthaha. Avichyuta means the infallible, artha means interest or purpose. Kavibhir nirupitaha. Kavi means a recognized learned person. A highly intelligent person is called a kavi. Nirupitaha, concluded. Yat uttama shloka gunanu varnanam. Uttama shloka means, this is one of the names of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. He is called Uttama Shloka because he is described by great devotees by choice poetry. Guna Anuvarnanam, description of the transcendental qualities. So, what is the meaning of this shloka? Narad Muni is saying, Kavibhir Nirupitaha, the great learned scholars, the learned circles, Nirupitaha, have positively concluded. What have they concluded positively? They have concluded that the infallible purpose, avichyuto arthaha, the infallible purpose of what? Of all knowledge, tapasaha, of all austerity, shrutasya, of all education, swishtasya, of all sacrifice, suktasya, of all education, Vedic education, buddhi, of all intelligence, dattayoho, of all charity. All of these things should culminate in what? Yaduttama shloka gunanu varnanam. All of these should be utilized for describing, for describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. This is the conclusion of the learned circles. The great learned, learned scholars, devotees have concluded like this. Whatever you may be doing, whatever knowledge you may have acquired, in whichever branch you may have become expert, all that expertise, all that art, all that science, all that knowledge should be utilized in describing the transcendental qualities and pastimes of the Lord. That is the perfection. So if you are a scientist, Prabhupada is saying here, what is Prabhupada saying about the scientists here in this purport? Let us read this once again. Prabhupada is saying, advanced people are eager to understand the absolute truth through the medium of science. So everybody says, can you please give scientific evidence? Can you show me this scientifically? Can you prove this scientifically? Because science has become such a standard of knowledge today. People have very much faith on science. So advanced people are eager to understand the absolute truth through the medium of science. And therefore, Prabhupada is saying, a great scientist should endeavor to prove the existence of the Lord on a scientific basis. So if you are a scientist, yes, use your ability to prove facts about the Lord using scientific methodology. On a scientific basis, you prove. Scientific basis means what? In science, there is a very systematic way of studying. There is a very convincing way of presenting things with evidence, with experimentation, with hypothesis. All those scientific methodologies can be utilized, can be used to present about Krishna to those people who are eager to understand the absolute truth through the medium of science. That is the meaning, right? So, suppose somebody is a great writer. Prabhupada is giving the example of Valmiki Rishi, who was the Adi Kavi, the first poet in the entire history of mankind. So, he wrote the Valmiki Ramayana, describing the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. So, if one is a poet, one is a writer like Vyasadeva, he should write Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, he should write such literatures and he should delineate the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. And Prabhupada says, by so doing, one can become immortal. Today, you see, whenever we talk about Ramachandra, first we remember the standard book, Ramayana, and immediately we are reminded of Valmiki Rishi. So, Valmiki Rishi has become immortal through his great literary work, Ramayana, isn't it? Vyasadeva has become immortal. Whenever we talk about Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, immediately Vyasadeva we remember. So Vyasadeva has become immortal in our memories. And for the rest of you know, the Kali Yuga also, even though the consciousness of the people might get degraded, but they will still remember these poets and writers because they have talked about transcendental subject matter. They may so many other poets who have simply described about material beauty, material love, material relationships, they may be forgotten. But because Valmiki and Vyasadeva have discussed about the absolute truth, about the eternal Lord, their fame is also eternal. They will be always remembered. So this is the understanding. So therefore, if see all of us, we want to make a mark in our own fields, isn't it? If I am an actor, people should remember me. I should make a mark in the art in the acting field. If I am a artist, I should make a mark in the field of art. If I am a literary person, I should make an art mark in the literature field. We all have this desire, no? So Prabhupada is saying, if you have that desire, very nice. Why don't you glorify Krishna through your art, through your science, through your literary abilities? And this will make you really immortal, just like Valmiki Rishi and Vyasadeva have become immortal. You will be known forever. So the fame of the Lord is eternal, so is the fame of his pure devotees who simply glorify the Lord. So the point is, whichever field we may be working in, all that, unless we utilize that knowledge in the glorification of the Lord, we are simply dealing with ignorance only. Hmm? That knowledge, which has got nothing to do with glorification of the Lord, is actually nescience. It is ignorance. So, therefore, if we utilize all the branches of knowledge which we are conversant with in glorifying the Lord, then uh, that is a perfection of our field which we have chosen to work in. So in the Mahabharata also, in the Vishnu Sahasranama, a verse comes where it says that all kinds of knowledge, Sankhya, Veda, uh, in fact, even military science, mm, all of this is coming from Narayana, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, everything actually has to be used in His service. In fact, if you see today, music and dance, for example, every movie, at least Indian movie, we see dance, music, songs. If you go back in history and see, if you go back in history and see, this music, dance, singing, all of this was actually uh, used only to glorify the Lord. That was the origin. Hmm? Even now, if you see in the ancient temples, especially South Indian temples, we will have a team of musicians always there in the temple. And every day, many sevas happen to the Lord, and these musicians play their musical instruments, Nadaswaram, they play for the pleasure of the Lord. And then there will be cultural events during festivals like Brahmotsava, where the dancers, singers, they come and dance, sing for the Lord. So originally, all these art forms were actually meant to glorify the Lord only. But as the Kali Yuga progressed, people's consciousness became degraded. They started searching for sense enjoyment even in these divine art forms. And that's how we see today music has become a means of sense enjoyment. Simply, with vulgar lyrics, they play music, agitating music, passionate music, which will make people more and more inclined to sense pleasure. And in this way, the whole thing has got degraded. But originally, music, art, everything was actually meant for glorifying the Lord. We see such mega structures in our temple, especially South Indian temples, especially the temples in Tamil Nadu. We see such huge temples of the Lord. And all these temples, rock carvings, stone carvings. So, this is a great art. When you see the various carvings, as though real personalities are standing, it is so realistic. If you study the architecture, the sculptures, finer details like the veins of the individuals are also carved in the sculptures. That means it was not simply some chisel and hammer kind of a raw art that the way modern historians talk about. No, these were all very advanced, uh, advanced form of arts that existed in the past. And the king used to encourage you, please come, make sculptures in the temple. He used to patronize the sculptors, and that's how we see huge temples with so many very very nice sculptures. We also see paintings. If you see the one of the ancient uh, pieces of art, we can see in the Ajanta Ellora caves in our own country. And inside the caves, on the walls, there are so many beautiful paintings depicting the pastimes from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, the life of Buddha, and all of these things. So that means originally the art was utilized only for glorifying the Lord. So now Krishna consciousness means if you're an artist, paint for Krishna. If you're a singer, sing for Krishna. That is the perfection of your talent. Because talent is God given. That even materialistic people accept this, isn't it? Materialistic people also say this. It's a God given talent, they say. But they forget that since it is God given, they forget the fact that it is God given, therefore it has to be utilized for God's seva, for glorifying God, not for glorifying your sense pleasures. That point they miss out. So somehow they say it is God given talent, but they don't utilize in God's service. So Prabhupada says such people are actually thieves. Bhagavad Gita says that. The gifts given by God is not used in God's service. You're using it for your own personal sense gratification. That means you are a thief. You're not recognized. You're not a gentleman. So Krishna consciousness means becoming a gentleman. Gentleman means what? My abilities, talents are all given by Krishna. Why am I using it for my own pleasure? I should use it for Krishna's pleasure. That is why Prabhupada, you see, in the West, as soon as he saw some of the hippies were good at painting, he said, why don't you paint Krishna's pictures? That's why we have so many BBT artworks. And these paintings, because they were made personally by the devotees under the supervision of pure devotee Srila Prabhupada, these paintings are so realistic. When we see the BBT artwork, and you may also see many professional painters might have made the same kind of picture of Krishna with a calf. But that is okay as an artwork, but that does not invoke a spirit of devotion. It does not give us a realistic experience. But the paintings made by devotees under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, as soon as you see, there is life in it. You can feel that, oh, there is Krishna here. You feel like bowing down and you see Krishna is here. So, therefore, all these kinds of art, architecture, science, all branches of knowledge must be used for Krishna's service. So, finally, this reminds us of the instruction that Krishna gives in the ninth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yad karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tad kurushva madarpanam. Do madarpanam. You do all that for me. Krishna is saying that in the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do, whatever charity you are giving, and whatever sacrifices, austerities you are performing, and everything that you are doing, and in fact, whatever you are eating also, Krishna says, Yad ashnasi, Yad karoshi, whatever you're doing, yad ashnasi, whatever you're eating, yad juhosi, whatever austerities you're performing, yad tapasyasi, all kinds of sacrifices and austerities that you're performing, mad kurushva, tad kurushva madarpanam, you do it as an offering unto me. Why? Because already Krishna said in the fifth chapter, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. I am the supreme proprietor, supreme enjoyer of everything that exists. So please do it as an offering unto me. So the lesson from this verse, in fact, Rupa Goswami's, this Yukta Vairagya principle, we can say that it is derived from this particular verse spoken by Narad Muni. He's saying everything should be utilized in Uttama Shloka Gunanu Varnanam. Varnana, description of the wonderful qualities of Uttama Shloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all our abilities, talents, they are not Maya because they are given by Krishna, and we should utilize it in Krishna's service. That is the understanding from this 22nd shloka. We'll close here. Any questions, any comments anybody has quickly? You can ask your questions or make your comments if you have any. Okay, so no questions. Thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.